Prime equity was just a clause until it became a threat. Hidden inside SHEDEUR Sanders' rookie deal, it gives him a slice of the very revenue streams NFL owners have long kept themselves. Now it's igniting a quiet panic in boardrooms across the league. If a fifth-round rookie can demand ownership-style perks and deliver global returns, what's stopping the next wave of players from doing the same? This isn't about one contract. It's about power. And with Haslam backing the blueprint, if you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. That power is shifting fast. What's unfolding in Cleveland is more than a clever contract. It's a full-scale redefinition of athlete value, with Sanders leading the charge. His on-field performance proves he belongs, but it's the global fan base, viral engagement, and merchandise boom that are breaking the mold. Cleveland's front office, flanked by Deshaun Watson and a deep roster, is playing the long game. They're not just building a team. They're shaping a franchise empire around a quarterback who brings in more than touchdowns. The NFL may still run the games, but players like Sanders are beginning to run the business. SHEDEUR Sanders entered the NFL with fifth-round expectations and billion-dollar impact. From day one, the media coverage, fan obsession, and digital footprint around him resembled that of a seasoned superstar, not a rookie quarterback. And the numbers didn't lie. Jersey sales exploded across platforms, eclipsing top draft picks and even veteran stars. What shocked most insiders was the global reach of it all. Orders poured in from Germany, South Korea, Nigeria. The Browns logo was suddenly trending in countries where football usually means soccer, while some chalked it up to his last name or social media savvy. The truth was simpler and far more disruptive. SHEDEUR Sanders had become a brand, and unlike most rookies, he wasn't waiting around to be molded by the league. He walked into the NFL with an empire in progress, and the Cleveland Browns handed him the keys. Jimmy Haslam didn't just draft a quarterback. He locked into a revenue machine. The prime equity clause in SHEDEUR's contract is already being dissected by front offices around the league. In plain terms, SHEDEUR gets a percentage of revenue tied directly to his likeness. Jerseys, merch, promotional deals tied to his name. It's the kind of clause you'd expect in a media mogul's portfolio, not a rookie's contract. But that's exactly what Haslam agreed to. And now, the league is watching with its jaw on the floor. This wasn't charity or a risky bet. Haslam saw something other teams ignored, a generational shift in athlete value. He didn't care that SHEDEUR wasn't a first-rounder. He cared that SHEDEUR had the power to turn Cleveland into a global brand overnight. And he was right. Browns' revenue metrics spiked within weeks. Local sales turned international. Haslam had effectively redefined what it meant to own an NFL franchise, because now he was sharing power with the player. When SHEDEUR addressed the press during his first week with the team, the dynamic was instantly different. The media didn't treat him like a question mark. They treated him like a headline. Reporters from European and African news outlets tuned in. Marketing execs took notes. Sanders wasn't just giving answers. He was setting the tone. Calm, confident, and brand aware. He never once overpromised on-field performance. He didn't have to. His off-field value was already doing the work. The pressure didn't rattle him. It elevated him. As other rookies scrambled to learn schemes and impress coaches, SHEDEUR moved like a CEO in cleats. His public appearances felt more like product launches than football briefings. Yet somehow, none of it felt forced. This wasn't about ego. It was about control. And then the numbers started matching the hype. Sanders threw for over 300 yards in multiple games, shutting down early critics who expected a flashy media figure with no game to back it up. On field, he delivered accuracy, poise, and a surprising ability to read defenses at pro speed. His stat lines weren't just respectable. They were strategically timed to reinforce the brand. That duality, performance meeting persona, was the real unlock. NFL analysts who had been skeptical early on changed their tune fast. Suddenly, highlight reels featured him weekly. Primetime broadcasts threw his name into MVP conversations, not as a joke, but with real curiosity. For For the first time, a rookie quarterback was setting narrative and revenue at the same time. Inside the Browns facility, SHEDEUR wasn't just another young QB hoping for reps. He was a focal point. His practice sessions drew media attention, usually reserved for playoff prep. Veterans respected him, not just for his talent, but for the gravity he brought to the room. This wasn't a locker room distraction. It was a brand boost. Deshaun Watson, the established veteran, played a quiet supporting role in SHEDEUR's development. No egos, no power plays, just alignment. The coaching staff built plays around SHEDEUR's strengths, while the front office built campaigns around his image. It was a full franchise shift, and everyone knew it. Sanders wasn't being developed. He was being launched. Jimmy Haslam's appearances around the team took on a new tone. He wasn't hovering like a micromanaging owner. He was showing off the product. Whether it was meetings with international sponsors or sideline chats with Sanders, Haslam had one message: this is the future. Privately, insiders say other owners have called Haslam, trying to understand how he got this deal through. Because now there's panic. If SHEDEUR's contract becomes a template, every future star will want prime equity. That could threaten how the league controls image rights, sponsorship deals, and media profits. What Jimmy Haslam did wasn't just aggressive, it was revolutionary. SHEDEUR hasn't shied away from the implications. In interviews, he's made it clear this isn't about ego, it's about ownership. He's not interested in playing the NFL's branding game on their terms. He's building something that lasts beyond touchdowns. And he's using the league, not letting the league use him. His message resonates with younger fans, especially those outside traditional NFL markets. They don't just want players, they want personalities. Sanders gives them both. And that has sent older execs scrambling to adapt. Because if this works, and so far it is, then the days of total league control may be numbered. Cleveland's season has felt different in every way. Attendance is up, merch sales are up, and local businesses are booming around game days. But the biggest shift is energy. Browns fans, long used to disappointment, have found something entirely new. Pride tied to possibility. Even when games are close or messy, the crowd stays electric. Because SHEDEUR's presence turns every play into content, every scramble into a storyline. The Browns are no longer a punchline, they're a platform, and the franchise is finally being treated like a media property with global stakes. What sets this era apart is that SHEDEUR's success isn't isolated to social media or branding hype, it's embedded in results. His highlight throws are clean, his footwork is tightened. Analysts who once called him raw now praise his command of the pocket. The growth is tangible. And each game adds to the financial momentum. International broadcasters are paying more attention to Browns games. Merch restocks are now coordinated with big matchups. Every touchdown becomes a multi-platform event. This isn't traditional quarterback development. It's athlete entrepreneurship in real time. Critics are still trying to poke holes in the story, but they're losing steam. The narrative has outgrown them. SHEDEUR Sanders isn't just surviving rookie year, he's reshaping it. And the Browns aren't just riding the wave, they're engineering it. NFL veterans are watching. Rookies are taking notes. And the league itself is now scrambling to keep up with a player who treats football like a launch pad, not a destination. It's a power shift no one saw coming, except the people who look beyond draft grades and saw a billion-dollar trajectory. The NFL is changing, and it's not because of rule books or commissioner memos. It's because one rookie quarterback and one strategic owner decided to rewrite the blueprint in real time. And everyone else is either adjusting or getting left behind. If you're following the story, now's the time to hit that like button. Share this with someone who still thinks rookies can't shake up billion-dollar systems. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. And of course, subscribe for more chaos in the heart of the NFL's identity crisis. What's happening now is the part the league didn't plan for. SHEDEUR Sanders isn't slowing down after the initial shock. The momentum is compounding. Every appearance, every quote, every clip fuels the same cycle. Attention turns into engagement, engagement turns into sales, and sales turn into leverage. This isn't speculation anymore. It's measurable. His jersey continues to sit at the top of sales charts, and it's not tapering off the way most rookie hype does. What unsettles league executives is that none of this is tied to a playoff run or a historic season. This is happening in real time during development before the NFL usually grants permission to crown anyone. Sanders didn't wait for validation. He built value first, and now the league has to react to it. Inside ownership circles, Jimmy Haslam's name keeps coming up for the same reason. He didn't just approve a player-friendly clause. He accepted a shift in power. Prime equity changes the math for everyone. It means a player's brand success no longer flows upward only to the league and the franchise. It flows sideways. It flows back to the athlete. Other owners are uneasy because this wasn't forced by a union dispute or a lockout. It happened quietly, through one contract, one player, one franchise willing to experiment. And now the precedent exists. Haslam didn't break any rules. He simply exploited the fact that the league hadn't imagined a rookie with this level of economic gravity. SHEDEUR's media availability continues to underline the difference. He doesn't talk like someone trying to survive a season. He talks like someone aware of his position in a much larger system. When asked about pressure, he redirects to preparation. When asked about money, he redirects to impact. The messaging is controlled, consistent, and deliberate. There's no sense of panic or overreach. That's what throws people off. He isn't chasing headlines. He's managing them. And that discipline only adds to the perception that this rise isn't accidental. It's on Sundays. The Browns feel like a different franchise. Broadcasts linger on the crowd longer. Cameras pan to international fans holding up Sanders jerseys. Cleveland games are no longer treated like regional programming. They're being packaged as events. This matters because franchise valuation isn't built only on wins. It's built on relevance. The Browns are relevant in spaces they've never touched before. And that relevance traces back to one player whose presence alone changes how the product is consumed. On the field, Sanders continues to justify the attention. He's efficient, composed, and increasingly confident. His reads are quicker. His decision-making has sharpened. There's a noticeable comfort in the offense that wasn't there early on. Each solid outing reinforces the same conclusion. This isn't a marketing illusion propped up by hype. The football is real, and that's the part that turns curiosity into commitment for fans, sponsors, and the league itself. The routine looks professional, almost boring, which is exactly the point. No spectacle, no theatrics, just repetition. Coaches notice preparation. Teammates note his focus, and the organization notes how little babysitting he requires. That stability is crucial because it keeps the story clean. There's no off-field chaos to distract from the larger narrative. The Browns don't have to spin anything. They just have to let it run. Publicly, Jimmy Haslam remains measured. He doesn't boast about being ahead of the curve, but his body language tells the story. This is an owner watching a long-term bet pay off faster than expected. The league notices that too, because when ownership confidence aligns with player power, the usual hierarchy starts to wobble. This isn't rebellion, it's evolution, and Haslam is positioned as one of the first owners willing to adapt rather than resist. SHEDEUR's influence now extends beyond the Browns. Younger players reference him when talking about branding. College prospects cite his model when discussing future goals. The idea that an athlete has to wait years to gain leverage feels outdated. That's the quiet revolution happening here. Sanders didn't ask permission to be valuable. He proved it, and the system had no choice but to respond. As the season continues, the Browns are no longer evaluated solely by their record. They're evaluated by their reach. Every game adds another data point showing how far the brand has stretched. This is why the story matters even beyond Cleveland. The league thrives on control and predictability. What Sanders represents is controlled unpredictability, growth that can't be capped by draft position or rookie scale. This isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new baseline. The NFL now knows what's possible when an athlete arrives fully formed as a brand and backs it up with performance. That knowledge can't be undone. Whether the league embraces it or fights it, the shift is already underway. SHEDEUR Sanders didn't just change expectations for himself. He changed them for everyone coming next. The NFL isn't built to absorb disruptions as quickly. SHEDEUR Sanders has outpaced the narrative, and now the system is chasing him. They can't flatten the story, because the proof is already on the scoreboard, the balance sheet, and in the cultural lexicon. He's not being talked about like a promising rookie. He's being analyzed like a prototype. The numbers are moving faster than the league's response time, and no one has figured out how to replicate the model because it wasn't manufactured in a lab. This came from lived in authenticity, perfect timing, and a front office bold enough to embrace something unrecognizable. Backdoor conversations among ownership groups are reportedly shifting from what is Cleveland doing to how do we catch up? Some teams are already exploring how to embed equity-style clauses into future contracts. Others are resisting entirely, still clinging to the belief that Sanders is an outlier. But deep down, they all know this. The gate has been kicked open. Jimmy Haslam didn't just pull off a PR coup. He rewired the incentives. When a player can monetize their brand while still delivering on-field value, the old framework breaks. Owners who used to control the narrative are suddenly sharing it, and those unwilling to adapt will watch their franchises become irrelevant to a new generation of fans who care more about influence than institutional loyalty. SHEDEUR hasn't wasted a second of platform time. Every media appearance hits the same notes: discipline, long-term vision, and intent. He never gets dragged into headline wars or petty rivalries. He knows the bigger fight isn't on the field. It's over who defines what value looks like in today's NFL. And that's the message that keeps echoing with young players across every level of football. This isn't about copying SHEDEUR's style or stats. It's about understanding that influence, when paired with performance, is a currency more powerful than any signing. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, the product is thriving. Game day energy has transformed into something closer to an experience economy. Fans aren't just watching, they're investing. And it shows. Merch sellouts, engagement spikes, attendance consistency, all signs of franchise no longer relying solely on tradition. Cleveland has always wanted a hero. What they got was an architect. Sanders didn't just give the city a quarterback. He gave it relevance. He gave it cultural real estate in a league that rarely shares spotlight with Midwest franchises unless it's for misery or mediocrity. Inside the facility, the tone has shifted. Sanders is now the unofficial bar for accountability. It's not just his work ethic. It's the efficiency of it. There's no wasted motion, no pointless flash. Teammates have adapted their routines. Staff have adjusted schedules around media demands tied directly to Sanders' brand output. This isn't diva behavior. It's strategic operations. The Browns don't just have a player. They have a property, and they're managing it like one. Each week, his tape evolves. The mechanics are tighter. The reads are smoother. He's learning on the job, but without the usual rookie volatility. What's striking is that there are no panic moments. Even under pressure, he leans into process. That calm has translated into consistency. On offense, in the locker room, and across the fan base. People feel like they can trust what's coming next, and in Cleveland, that's a rare feeling. The Browns have spent decades selling hope. For once, they're delivering product. Haslam hasn't needed to issue grand statements. The shift is self-evident. Media outlets now use the phrase Brown's business model when talking about franchise innovation. That alone marks a historic pivot. Other owners may not say it publicly, but behind closed doors, there's a growing sense that Haslam turned a perennial underdog franchise into a test case for future sports ownership. Not just football, sports, global reach, decentralized branding, and athlete-leveraged equity. That's the new playbook. SHEDEUR's interviews now carry weight that goes beyond the box score. Sponsors align with him not just for exposure, but for ideology. Fans listen not just for updates, but for cues. He's leading without asking for permission, and that leadership is starting to feel generational. He talks about financial literacy, digital presence, and control. He uses terms like lifetime value and brand trajectory, phrases more common in boardrooms and locker rooms, but nothing about it feels forced. He's not pretending to be a businessman. He is one. The Browns media team has quietly built an entire infrastructure around him. Interviews are positioned. Highlights are curated. Messaging is coordinated. But the beauty of it is that none of it has to be faked. Sanders' story sells itself. That's what scares the league the most. They've seen phenoms before, but those phenoms needed polish, guidance, editing. Sanders walked into the league with a complete toolkit, and every week he adds something new to it. What happens next isn't up to the NFL. It's up to everyone else. Players, agents, sponsors, broadcasters. SHEDEUR Sanders has laid out a new map, and people are already following the trail. This isn't a sports moment. It's a business evolution hiding in cleats and shoulder pads. Cleveland just became the testing ground for a new economy, where athletes are more than players and brands are more than logos. There's a reason the story feels bigger than football, because it is. SHEDEUR Sanders is living proof that athlete control isn't some abstract ideal anymore. It's a working system. The NFL, once the final word on what a player could be worth, is now staring down a reality it never prepared for. Rookie contracts used to come with baked-in limitations. The money, the exposure, the access, it all had to be earned on the league's terms. But Sanders flipped that timeline. He came in with value already built, already measurable, already monetized. And he didn't ask for permission to cash in on it. That's what makes this moment so uncomfortable for league traditionalists. He's not waiting for a second contract to matter. He's not praying for legacy later. He's designing it now. Jimmy Haslam saw what most other owners missed, that the next great quarterback wouldn't just be a system fit. He'd be a system challenge. And that challenge would come with upside no one had dared to quantify. Now, other owners are in reactive mode. They're assigning strategy teams to dissect the Sanders model, hoping to replicate the results without giving up the control. But it doesn't work like that. This wasn't manufactured in a lab. It required a player willing to own his narrative and an owner bold enough to step out of the herd. The ripple effect is already underway. Agents are rewriting demands. College players are studying more than just playbooks. And franchises are quietly realizing that the new game isn't just played on the field. It's played in the contract room, the merch store, the algorithm. If you're watching the rules bend in real time and want to see where this power shift leads next, like this video. Share it with someone who still thinks the NFL can keep the lid on all this. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because this era is just getting started.